And Chair will now recognize himself for 5 minutes. Mr. Ragsdale, I'm not going to spend my 5 minutes debating statutory construction with you. There's a statute that says shall be detained. That just does not strike me as being an ambiguous statute. To my friend from California's point, there is another statute which is much more narrowly drawn. In fact, it's so narrowly drawn that it says to meet a medical emergency or necessary for a legitimate law enforcement objective. I think you'll agree that's much more narrowly drawn than shall be detained. So, since I know you agree with that, what percentage of those that are apprehended at the border are detained versus paroled?
Last year we had about 220,000 bookings from CBP.
What percentage would be detained versus paroled?
Of the 220,000 bookings, it looks like about 25,000 were paroled. It's about 10%.
And so of that 25,000, you mean all of them can meet that very precise exception, medical emergency or necessary for a legitimate law enforcement objective?
Well, so again, if you're talking about parole, in other words, 212D5 parole, and I certainly don't want to debate statutory construction with the chair, but urgent humanitarian needs and a significant public benefit is a balance. The needs of the individual and versus the needs in terms of us balancing our resource requirements. If we look at 460,000...
Does the shall be detained statute contain that same balancing?
Well, so there has been a fair amount of litigation about what shall means. We see it in the Ninth Circuit, we see it in the Central District of California. Believe me,
listen, no disrespect to my friends from California, but you're going to have to cite me something other than the Ninth Circuit. I don't doubt that the Ninth Circuit can't define shall. I do not doubt that for a second. The rest of the country does know what shall means. So, because I'm not going to debate statutory construction with you, I want to ask you this. Of those who are paroled, I prefer the phrase bond, but paroled, is there a bond? Is it a surety bond? Is it a PR bond? What ensures that they will come back?
So immigration bonds are posted in a variety of ways. They're normally cash bonds. Again, if it's someone who has been apprehended between a port of entry, found to have a credible fear, is issued a notice to appeal.
Who determines that credible fear?
The Citizenship and Immigration Services.
I have seen juries struggle for weeks and months to determine credibility. How long does it take them to ascertain whether or not someone is credible?
I would have to defer to my colleague at CIS.
Well, while you are deferring, I want to ask you about a memo that was produced to the committee surreptitiously. This was a form that was being completed by an agent, and a supervisor wrote this at the bottom of the form. We're not investigating potential fraud, we're adjudicating asylum claims. Do you agree with me that that is an oxymoronic statement?
I'm not familiar with that document.
Well, no, but you're familiar with the sentence because I just read it to you.
We're
not investigating potential fraud, we're adjudicating asylum claims.
Would the
I
chairman
think
yield for
inherent
a
in the
question?
adjudication is detecting fraud.
Pardon me?
I would say inherent in the adjudication is
So would I.
fraud.
So would I. So why would a supervisor write?
Parliamentary inquiry, Mr. Chairman. What document are you referring to, and does all
A
do all the
document that's
members
been produced to me and another member of the committee in confidence.
Would it be possible to share that document with other members of the committee?
I'll be happy to ask the source of the document whether or not he has any objections to that. I do not. I'm not going to endanger the confidentiality of this whistleblower, and I know that my friend from California would not ask me to do so. But I do find it striking that a supervisor is saying that we're not in the business of investigating fraud. We're here to adjudicate asylum claims.
Mr. Chairman.
That just strikes me as being an oxymoronic statement.
Mr. Chairman, you are an attorney, proud attorney, I'm sure, notwithstanding the comments that were made earlier by Mr. Shavitz. But I know that you understand that rank hearsay, just hearsay on top of hearsay, copies of stuff, it's just not good, reliable evidence to
Well, reclaiming my time, Mr. Johnson, I'm happy to run through whatever exception to the hearsay analysis you want me to go through, but you and I both know that there are, last time I counted, 24 different exceptions to the hearsay rule, so I'll be happy to debate that with you some other time. You are welcome to ask for a second round of questions, but I'm not going to spend my time debating hearsay exceptions with the gentleman from Georgia. What I am going to ask Mr. Ragsdale is this. What is the punishment for falsely asserting that you have a credible fear? What is the sanction? What is the disincentive for asserting it when it's not true?
An immigration judge can make a frivolous asylum finding when they get to the ultimate asylum adjudication.
And the sanction is what? That you're not going to benefit from your false assertion? Is there anything else
or
that
any other
happens?
immigration benefit for that matter.
So if you weren't going to win if you told the truth, and you're not going to win if you don't tell the truth, what's the punishment? What's the disincentive for that chart right there?
Well,
Because you and I both know the cartels are not more dangerous now than they were 5 years ago.
well, let me make it clear that we spend 25% of our criminal investigative hours on narcotics cases. We take that very seriously. It is the biggest piece of our investigative portfolio. So we are like I say, very much concerned about the drug cartels.
Well, walk me through that credibility assessment then. Somebody says that I have a credible fear of the cartel. You can run an FBI check. I don't think the FBI keeps crime stats in Mexico or Guatemala or Honduras. So how do you do it?
Well, what I'm saying,
No, walk me through it.
I
You
still
brought
not
it
make
up.
credible
Walk
fear
me through it, Mr.
adjudications.
Ragsdale. Walk me through your investigation of credibility when you can't use U.S. law enforcement to do the investigation for you.
we do not do the adjudication for credible fears. Citizenship.
Are you familiar with the process that is used?
I'm not an asylum officer. I've never done it.
So you're not familiar with how they determine credibility?
I am familiar with the idea of credibility. As noted before, I am an attorney. I certainly know as a prosecutor and state prosecutor, you are well familiar with the concept. I certainly want, as a career law enforcement person, to want people to tell us the truth. I will tell you that we could prosecute folks for 1001 if that's what you're asking me.
Well, of course not, because you and I both know that's not going to happen, and that's my point. There is no disincentive for claiming it, even if it's not true.
The Immigration and Nationality Act does provide for a sanction. It's a frivolous asylum finding. That is the statute.
Which means what? That you're not going to be successful? Well, you weren't going to be successful if you told the truth.
For that or any other immigration benefit for the rest of your life.
If you fail to show up on bond or what is called parole in the statute, is that any negative inference with respect to the subsequent hearing on the merits?
Immigration judges are the ones who are the fact finders and deciders of hearings after.
I'm asking you, and if you don't know, that's fine. Is it something an immigration judge can take into consideration that a person failed to keep their appointed court date?
An immigration judge could take everything into consideration.
Do they take that into consideration?
Sir, I'm not an immigration judge. I would
now,
only be speculating.
Mr. Chairman, I have waited patiently as the red.
Well, Mr. Johnson, with all due respect, had you not interrupted me, the red light would not have come on. So I'm gonna handle it the way I want to handle it. And if you'd like a second round of questions, I'm happy to entertain that.
Yes, I would.
Be delighted to. I would now recognize the gentlelady from California.